that we've asked him to share with us and with all of you. And with Kirk, thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Hi, everybody. You know, I know all of you are accustomed to me hustling dollars out of your wallets so you contribute to various PEP programs, or I'm hustling you to go on a field trip, and those that haven't been going on field trips, please consider going on them because we just finished a great one at Griffith Observatory. But I really wanted to share with you an amazing experience that I had at the Clinical Trials Rehabilitation Center. And here's a picture of it here. And we have a special guest that's going to be following my presentation, Dr. Porszasz, and I'll properly introduce him at the conclusion of my speech. But I wanted to share my experience in this clinical trial because it really taught me some amazing information. And what I want to do today is, number one, I want to motivate people exercise to give it a second chance, because I'm going to prove to you today from my clinical experience that exercise can improve your breathing. Secondly, I want to encourage some of you who have never considered participating in a clinical trial to consider participating in the Clinical Trial Rehabilitation Center. This is a state-of-the-art facility. It's a couple years old that is doing world-renowned, internationally famous pulmonary research that is helping all of us. And I strongly suggest that you consider participating in that. And I also want to show you in my presentation today that I can show you some results that are going to prove what I went through and the exercise I did actually improved my breathing. So I've got about 10 or 14 slides to share with you. And we'll go from there. It was a very interesting clinical trial that I participated in. And it was to explore whether a known drug, and it actually was Spiriva, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, combined with a medically supervised exercise training program and behavior modification. Now, I know you think Kurt can't modify his behavior. I'm unmodifiable. But actually, she did. And it was a 12-week study. There were a number of patients. We were all under the supervision of Dr. Cassaberry, Dr. Stringer, and of course, Dr. Porszasz. So the medical team they have there is just terrific. It's just like the team at PEP. They're just first rate. And there were a number of tests they had to do. And I had an hour and 15 minutes on the treadmill and on other pieces of equipment. I came 3 times a week. There were monthly meetings with behavior specialists, and that really was helpful because it just showed me lots of little tricks, almost like PEP's training, of improving my breathing and changing my diet to improve a number of factors. And then they followed up with a number of meetings. Here I am on the treadmill, and I want to show you the before and after the results. And when I started this test, they put me through a battery of tests and examinations to see exactly what my FEV1 was, what my diffusion capacity was, all the parameters of my lungs. And it's great if you get the opportunity to participate in a clinical trial, because you get kind of a free test of the state-of-the-art of your lungs, and it's really valuable information that you can use. So on the treadmill, I improved about 9%, and I ran for a certain length of time until I desaturated, and then they stopped. So I improved 9%. Not bad. Leg press, I had an 18% improvement. I went from lifting 280 pounds to 331 pounds. Now you go, great, he's got strong legs. How's that going to help your breathing? You will see that it does help my breathing, because if I have stronger legs, and if I'm in better shape, when I've got to walk a long distance to the car, I'm not going to be as out of breath, because my legs are in better shape, and it's less load on my lungs. And I'm going to prove that to you in the test that they gave me. The arm pull. 0 improvement. I hated this test. You had to pull this arm thing down, and I did it. The whole routine went through, and I had 0 improvement. I actually did have some improvement because it got easier and easier, but I couldn't move the chingaderas to the next notch, so I had 0 improvement. But on the leg curl, I had 48% improvement. I went from 217 pounds to 322 pounds. 48% improvement. And it was kind of fun. I'm not a super exercise guy, and it was kind of fun going through this, and every week seeing that I could do a little bit more and a little bit more, and I was just getting stronger, and I felt better. I felt as good in this clinical trial as I have ever felt in my life physically. I have to go back to high school to feel that good physically. I mean, because I'm just not an exercise guy. I mean, I'm in pretty good health, but I still don't exercise. And this program made me feel a lot better. Arm press, I had a 31% improvement. 80 pounds to 105 pounds. This was also a hard machine, but I did okay. So at the end, they put you through this test called a fast walk shuttle test, and they get this big conference room, and they have 2 cones. I got to use my very cool green laser here. There are these 2 cones in the room, and you start walking around the cones, and there's several doctors in the room, and I've got an oximeter on my finger, and they're measuring my oxygen levels in my blood, and they make you kind of walk faster and faster and faster around these cones. Well, the beginning of the test, I walked for 2.5 minutes before I desaturated below the cutoff point, I don't know, maybe 88%, let's say. So I only walked 2.5 minutes. After the test, after I went through all the exercises, at the end of the test, kind of my final exam, I went 7 minutes. That's 180% improvement. That's my breathing efficiency because I have better, stronger legs. And that's what exercise, you heard Dr. Stringer share with us maybe at the last meeting or the meeting before, how powerful exercise. It's the best drug you can take. It's free, essentially. 6-minute walk test, you're all familiar with that. I had not a huge improvement, 12% improvement. I think I kind of messed this test up because I was trying to purse lips breathe faster or harder than you're supposed to, and I think I got messed up. I think if I had taken that 6-minute walk test again, I might have done a little bit better. I just kind of got messed up. But all of this is showing the tremendous improvement that I had as a result of this exercise. Now, it wasn't just me. I'm going to share with you the results of one other woman who went through the test with me, and I'm not going to show all her results because I didn't have all her results, but I'm going to show you the ones that I do have. She was a wonderful gal, and her name is Sandra. When she came in, she had kind of ashen color on her face. She still smoked. Bad on her. And I tried to offer to help her to quit smoking. But the changes in Sandra, she did 0 exercise in her life except for walking the dog. 0 exercise. Her changes were just profound. Now, she started at 38 watts on the exercise cycle, but she went to 53 watts. That's a big improvement. Leg curl, 74% improvement, 67 pounds to 117 pounds. And over the period of the 12 weeks, it was so cool to see the changes in Sandra. Her color got better. She walked better. She didn't slump over. You could just see there was a spring in her step. It changed her life. It was really wonderful to see. Here's the leg press, 25% improvement. And here's, she's pushing here, and she's pushing and lifting 63 pounds, and she went up to 79 pounds. This is a woman who was not very strong before. Arm press, 71% improvement. 17.5 pounds to 30 pounds. Big, big improvement for her. Oops. Arm pull, just like Kurt, 0 improvement. 0 improvement. Both of us hated this damn machine. But Sandra's experience and my experience were exactly the same. At the end of 12 weeks, it was easier to pull this thing down than it was at the start. But we weren't quite strong enough to graduate to the next notch on the stupid machine. So, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is routine exercise is proven to improve muscle tone, we all know that, and body conditioning, thereby making it easier to breathe. If your body is in good shape, routine, everyday life activities become easier to do, and that puts less load on your lung. We proved it in this study. It's been proven over and over again, and our trial results quantitatively prove this. So, I would ask that you consider joining a clinical trial. They have them under all different conditions. They're not all exercise clinical trials. And maybe Dr. Porszasz will, answer questions on the different types of trials that they have. And here he is congratulating me on graduation day, of course. So I want to tell you a little bit about Dr. Porszasz, because he is a very, very special guy. And he is not only a doctor, an MD, he also has his PhD. So he ain't no dummy. He is adjunct professor of the Department of Medicine at David Geffen School of Medicine at Harbor-UCLA Center. And he is technical director of the Rehabilitation Clinical Trials Center at Harbor-UCLA, and that's where I went through. For the past 15 years, Janos has been clinical director of the Rehabilitation Clinical Trials Center. And they conduct multiple pulmonary studies, some funded by the National Institutes of Health in Washington, some funded by the pharmaceutical companies like the one I participated in, and some are funded from within through the PERF Foundation. And again, I want to underscore that the research that they're doing is world-class leading research. Many of these studies that they conduct are pulmonary function exercise training, and that's what I went through. And I could go on and on about Dr. Porszasz. I'll just tell you that he got his MD and his PhD from universities and academies in Hungary, and he's got just a bit of a Hungarian accent, which makes it much more interesting than my boring Wisconsin accent. He has multiple patents attributed to his name. His work has been published in renowned medical journals, the top medical journals in the world, and there are more than 40 pages on the internet attributed to some of the research work that Dr. Porszasz has done. So it really is a pleasure to introduce a gentleman who has now become a friend and an inspiration to me, Dr. Porszasz. So please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, my friend. Is it afternoon? Yes, good afternoon. Yes, I will take it. As Kurt said, he is not only a participating volunteer or patient or whoever or however you want to call him in our clinical trial, but he became my very close friend during this trial. I didn't know him before, and this was just a marvelous experience for me. So you trained me for friendship. Thank you very much. So you hear some very strange accent. This is coming from Hungary. And these days you probably heard a lot of Hungary because of the migration and immigration and whatnot. It's a big problem over there, but it is a big problem for the whole world. But in any case, I came from that part of the world, and when the first time around it was 1991. So it is how many years ago? 25, something like that. 25 years ago, first time around. And then 4 years later, I went back to my home country because I thought that I can do something over there too. And it turned out that it was not too much that I could do over there. But my colleague and friend, Dr. Rich Kasabury, who you know very well because he has been here several times already, came to my office in Budapest and said, give me a sheet of paper. Okay, so what not? Give me a pencil. And what else do you want? Nothing, I just want to draw. And he started to draw something, a rectangle. And do you know what is this? No, I have no clue. Then he started to draw into that thing something. And finally he says that I just got a new clinical trial center established last August, 2 months before. It was 1998, I'm sorry, in August of 1998. And he came to my office in September sometime and said, okay, I need you to come back because I need you to put together the laboratory that we are going to do clinical trials in. I said, well, okay, let me see what I can do. In January, I was here, end of January, and in March, we did the first clinical trial. When I arrived, he took me into the laboratory, into the building, and said that was an empty room. Probably some of you have been there and saw it. It was an empty room, except in a corner there was a desk. On that desk there were instruments and whatnot piled up, and said, okay, this is what you are going to do for a laboratory. So I started to do things, and here I am, 1999, 16 years ago, and ever since we became not only friends but very close colleagues, and I would like to show you some of this stuff that we were doing and what we are going to do in the next, I don't know how many years, I hope long. So our mission is to develop therapies aimed at improving the lives of patients with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is all of us have here. And how do I go that way? This way. Yep. So this is the famous or unfamous building. This was my first walk on a ramp up in that building, and in the back corner of it there was this laboratory, the room that became a laboratory later. So it was established in 1999. This is another shot of it. We had lots of fun there. I think that this event was in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. I recognize a couple of persons there, and I didn't know them before, so it was 2005. This is an open house. We invited volunteers, invited patients, invited everybody to look around and be with us for a while. And they came, and look, this is what we have got. Lots of people came, and we became with some of them friends.
There's Ruby.
Yes, there is Ruby. And one of the things that I would like to tell you that it is not only us who is working. You have seen in January Asla Gorek Dilektasli, the doctor from Turkey in January. She came here and talked to you about something. I think it was some lung disease, right? And But why am I telling you that? Because we have, Kurt, may I borrow your green thing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So you can see that this is Dr. Kasaburi, and we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 persons who do not belong to our laboratory. They came, these three ladies came from high school. They were doing research, summer research with us. This lady came from Thailand. That gentleman came from Taiwan. That gentleman came from Japan. This is an American boy, and this is a Hungarian boy. He was the big Jano. You probably remember if you were there between 2005 and 2007. Why is this important? Because it's not only what we do in clinical trials, but we help people in learning how to do these things, and these are all taking their knowledge back to their own countries. And for example, this lady, ever since is a PhD, she is a chemical engineer. She is, I can tell you, not very loud, she is the smartest woman I have ever met. She knows mathematics, and I don't. So, and there is again a research study. Here is a gentleman from Wales. This is Dr. Kasaburi and Letty Diaz. So we had lots of fun, and sometimes we even laughed and we played silly, as you can see here. So, but that old home was not enough for us. When President Obama got into office, the first law what he signed was the Restructuring and Recovery Act. That was this 700 or 800 billion dollars bill that went through the Congress and everything, and NIH got a big chunk of money. And NIH wrote or released this request for application for shovel-ready projects, and one of them was LA Biomed put an application together, and that was a 10 million grant. So this new building was planned, and this is a drawing of the new building, and here is again a drawing, and it was dedicated to service in 2012 in October. And this is the real building. This picture is my picture. And our laboratory is right behind these things, and behind this window and this window there is the training area that Kurt was using as well. The building, by the way, hosts three research laboratories, three research groups essentially. One of them is cardiology imaging, coronary calcification imaging, and so on and so forth. And the other group, is the immunology group, HIV research group. And all three groups were relatively well funded from NIH source of money. Now, what Dr. Kasaburi's achievement is, look at this. He has, the H index is something which scientists are very proud of if they have this number high up. The H index, his H index is 71. That means that he has at least 71 papers, publications, that is cited at least 71 times. It's an easy index. But he has citations altogether, 36,000 citations. Nobody can beat that. His papers, number of papers, I don't exactly know how many papers he has, around 300 or something. But the number of citations is enormous. He was our medical director until this January, past January. And he got replaced as medical director. He's co-director, co-medical director, Dr. Stringer, who was the chair of Department of Medicine at Harvard UCLA Medical Center for 15 years, and he said, that's enough. I need to do something else. So he came and joined us. His citation is 1,300, almost 4,000, and he has 21 papers that he cited at least 21 times. Now, we get some support, and major support is coming from the Pulmonary Education and Research Foundation because, and that is used for several directions, several uses. One of them is supporting the research, one of them is supporting recruitment, like Dr. Rossiter, who was here a couple of weeks ago and talked to you about something which was probably very interesting, and he had a different kind of accent than I have. But there is no difference. He had an accent and I have an accent too. And he's much smarter than I am. So the Granser Burns Faculty Recruitment Fund assured that we could get him on board from Leeds. We recruited him from Leeds, and he is one of the prominent exercise physiologists in the world. PERF also funds a research fellow fund, which means that we have a research fellow who is paid from the funds, 100%, that PERF is giving us. Major equipment. A year ago, we learned that our exercise equipment is not going to be anymore supported by the company, the manufacturer, and if it goes wrong, the best we can do is to throw it away through the window. And that means that we cannot do anything. So therefore, we had to replace it. And we were successful in negotiating the price down from a 90,000 street price to 30,000 from the manufacturer, and that was supported by the fund what PERF was giving to us for this purpose. And the first ever rehabilitation program, and this is a big thing because Harvard UCLA, I don't know how old it is, but at least 60 years old. LA Biomed is 60 years old, 63 years old actually, because it was established in 1952. I know because I was born in 1952 as well. So Harvard UCLA never had, you know what rehabilitation does to people, right? What pulmonary rehabilitation does to people. And Harvard UCLA Hospital never had one rehabilitation program. And Dr. Stringer said, okay, we are going to do one. And the first ever rehabilitation program at Harvard UCLA Hospital, we hope to open it in December, and that is going to be supported again with some funds from PERF, in which we are going to buy telemetric EKG systems and whatnot. So here is Dr. Rossiter, and his citation is 3,500, and the H index is 30, which means he has 30 papers that is cited by at least 30 times. So what we do a three-legged, we are sitting on a three-legged chair. Why three? Because that's the most stable one. It cannot flip over. So one, I hope at least, help me God. NIH studies, so NIH support. We do multi-center NIH trials. I will tell you a couple of them. Industry-sponsored studies, which is again very important, and the homegrown studies, which we think are the most important ones. So the NIH studies in COPD, what we have been doing in the past 10-15 years is the COPD Clinical Research Network. We were part of it out of 15 laboratories around the country, and we were one of them. In this, there was the ambulatory oxygen trial, which was following the patients on oxygen, how well do they use it around the clock, and how active they are. So there is a paper out of it, and it developed the method in which we can follow over a day, period over a month, and this is the average usage, oxygen usage of the stationary source and ambulatory source. So that's a unique method. We have developed it. We built the equipment for that. The macrolide antibiotic, which is again a multi-center trial that was very important in terms of it targeted to reduce the frequency of acute lung infections, exacerbations. The azithromycin, probably you know that antibiotic, that was the trial drug, and it proved that it is significantly reducing the exacerbation. So this line is the exacerbation rate, and that is about 27% reduction in exacerbation rate. That's long-term azithromycin therapy, low-dose azithromycin therapy. One more thing, this is the New England Journal of Medicine, which is the most prominent medical journal in the world, edited in the East Coast. The other one is the Statcope, which is the statin. You know that high cholesterol is brought down by statins, and lots of people are using it. But there were a couple of papers out there that suggested that it might help in COPD, reducing the acute lung infections. It turns out that it does not. So whoever is taking statins because of cardiovascular reasons cannot expect that it will help with COPD. That's what it means. The long-term oxygen treatment trial is the next one, which is the most cruel trial I have ever met with. Why? Because what it was looking at is that it recruited patients who did not qualify for oxygen therapy by the classical terms, by the Medicare criteria, CMS criteria, but they did show some desaturation. And they were divided into two groups. One group got oxygen, and the other one did not get oxygen. And the trial was looking who got first into the hospital, or who got first, who died first. So that was the outcome. These very severe complications of COPD. This trial is being evaluated right now. It is over. The recruitment is over. The last measurements have been done, and currently it is being evaluated. So I cannot tell you anything about it. Now, the next one is the largest ever NIH-funded COPD trial. It is running over around 20 sites around the country, and the PI, the primary investigator of it, is Dr. James Crepo out of Denver, and the funds what NIH gave for this protocol is $35 million. So this is a huge trial, and why is it important? Because there are let's say 100 smokers. Only 25 of them will ever get COPD. The question is not why do they get it. The question is that why other 75 do not get it. So we have to get some answer to this question, and it is probably written in the genetic material, in our genes. And that is the COPD gene trial that is looking for genetic predisposition of being protected against COPD. Our site recruited out of 10,000 subjects, 10,000, the target was 10,000, we did 762 out of 10,000, so we did pretty well in that. So the analysis strategy of that, to define important COPD subtypes, who is likely to get COPD, how is it coded in the genetic material. Find useful biomarkers, find determinants of the disease progression, and determine function of genes that characterize different subtypes and identify, based on these findings, new therapies. About the trial has started 10 years ago, about 10 years, not exactly, it's in 2007. Started, and the first phase of it was running over 5 years, and now we are doing the first recall of all subjects who we can reach. And there are already more than 150 papers published out of these results. Phase 2 started in 2013, and the study procedure is exactly the same thing. Everybody got high-resolution computer tomography, chest film, chest analysis, and it was analyzed for the percentage of emphysema and other characteristics as well. The ancillary studies, those are also very important. Ancillary study of genetic determinants of muscle dysfunction is being conducted at our site. As Kurt he was talking about exercise training. Why is it important in COPD? It is important because it's not only we are not using, because we are short of breath, we are not using the muscles, but there is a clue that it looks like that it has something to do directly with the muscle as well. So it is not only the lungs that are getting affected, but the muscle. Therefore, we need to look after whether there is something specific that can be done with the muscle, a part of training. Now, among the many ancillary studies, we have submitted one, and it was approved to do, that was a data analysis. Dr. James Hansen, one of our emeritus professors, he's a very big name in pulmonary function, and he came up with the idea of diagnosing COPD by other means other than FEV1. Everybody of us knows FEV1, right? That's very important. Know your numbers, test your lungs, know your numbers. So the FEV, we are familiar with that. But he came up with an idea that the small airways are probably the ones who are affected first. Now, the FEV1 is testing mainly the large airways. Now, FEV3, which is 3 seconds, during 3 seconds blown out volume, over 6 seconds blown out volume, is probably more sensitive. Now, Ajla, who was here, analyzed this. She is not only a very good doctor and a good speaker, but she knows statistics and she knows how to do computer work, and she's excellent. She's brilliant in that. And she is going to present next week in Montreal the results of that. And we actually found, we say in this paper, which is being submitted to the most prominent respiratory journal, that the FEV3 over FEV6 abnormality is diagnosing early COPD on those people who did not get diagnosed by classical terms in terms of FEV1 and FEV1 over FVC. So we will find about 16% of those who are negative in FEV1 measurements, 16% of them are sick, and something needs to be done. So the industry-sponsored trials, I don't spend too much time on this. There are several papers that were published, and one of the most prominent one is the tiotropium from Boehringer Ingelheim, and that is an important drug, as you well know. Now this is me. This is me. I have 28 papers that was cited 28 times, and I have 4,600 citations. So you see that 36,000 citations, nobody can beat it. So this is a very specific study that's a non-invasive open ventilator study. This device made by Breathe Technologies. What this does is that, you know, the oxygen, the pulse oxygen therapy, right? Now, this is the similar kind of machine, although it is not just pulse oxygen delivery. It delivers with pressure into the nasal passages a certain volume of oxygen, very efficient way. Therefore, it helps inhaling. That's very important. So we did this study, and we published it. This is what we did. This is. He was not a voluntold. He was a volunteer. He came and lent us his body, and we did lots of measurements with EMG, and this is EMG. And I would like to show you that this one is the neck muscle activity at rest. The neck muscle is an accessory inspiratory muscle. It works only if the inspiration is needed on a forced manner. At rest, it was not needed, but during exercise, every inspiration was helped by that muscle. So this person was probably very severely hyperinflated, and the inspiratory muscles were working very hard. Those are very weak muscles, therefore can get very easily tired, contributing to the shortness of breath. So exercise endurance, that is air, that is NIOF and air. When air is pumped into your lungs, this is oxygen, and this is NIOF and oxygen. So it means that 17 minutes out of originally 4 minutes or something, over 300% improvement. This was one of our subjects, and he got, when he was first in our laboratory, he said, "I'm not leaving unless you let me take it with me." And he came back 2 days later and said, "Finally, after 10 years, I could get a shower without short of breath." He is not classic, he is an alpha-1 patient. And we think that the improvement is greater exercise tolerance gains than any other intervention, except perhaps pulmonary rehabilitation. And that is about 300% improvement. Now, homegrown studies, I think that I am going to go through this. This is a very slick way of doing the exercise training. Actually, Kurt, if you remember, it was periodically getting his training, periodically was getting harder. Then there was a break, in the 2 minutes break, 1 minute very high intensity, 2 minutes break, and so on and so forth. Over 30 minutes, there was at least 10 repetitions of this. That was utilizing this idea. So the interval training, it turns out that in COPD, it is very difficult to do high intensity exercise, right? But for a short period of time, we can do it. And we did a study that proved it. So the strategy of exercise training is changing. And this is our group. That was last year, in 2014, the Christmas card. This was our Christmas card for our people. I think that this is my last. Yes, and thank you very much for your attention and having me.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Porszasz. Are there any questions you have for the doctor? And I'll give the microphone back. You know, both of us, the bottom line of what we talked about was how important exercise is. So again, I just want to stress, if you're not going to PEP, you know, PEP has a great staff of Jackie and Betsy and Joseph and everybody. Please consider going there, because your breathing will be better if you work out and you're in better shape. And I think I proved it. So I'm going to turn the microphone back to the good doctor to answer any questions.
Yes, you had a question back there.
I just wanted to say, in your very early days, I sat in your little room.
Yes, I do remember you.
And I spent a lot of time blowing my brains out
Yes.
to register on the machine.
Yes.
I'm here still. I mean, that's a long
Yes.
time ago.
Thank you for coming. I do remember you. I am the man who is the torture man, they say. And I always say that, okay, if I tortured you, I did it intentionally, but I did not mean it.
Archie.
Yes.
We're talking about that pull-down machine. Well, if you attach to the slot machines, you might have a lot more.
Good thought. Yes.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Porszasz. Porszasz, yes. Just chop off the Z's. Kurt learned it, so it's not impossible.
This lady has a question, sir.
Yes. Yes. Yes, please.
Yes. Do you do any studies on pulmonary fibrosis?
We might, but our profile is primarily COPD. But we might, and actually, there is this NIOF, this non-invasive open ventilator study that we were doing, is particularly useful in interstitial pulmonary fibrosis. So, if we happen to have another study, which is planned, but I'm not sure when and how it is going to come around, we might invite you. And, yes. Yes.
Yes, we would. Yes, we would. Yes, we are.
I'm sorry.
How do you get involved with a clinical trial?
Okay, give us a call. Give us a call. Now, I forgot because this morning was relatively crazier than the usual crazy mornings. So I did not bring the sign-up sheets and whatnot. But give us a call. Kurt has our phone number, and whoever, and please call us. Please call us because every one of you might participate and might actually benefit. And it is not only that, I tell you that you are going to get paid if you are coming. So we are one of those few places who are actually paying you. You don't have to pay, we pay you. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, done. Yes.
The number's on the website too. But I had a question about the non-invasive ventilator. Is
Yes.
that available on the commercial market today?
It is FDA approved. It is FDA approved. It is on the market, therefore. However, the CMS code, reimbursement code, until now, maybe a month ago, was not favoring that because of the competitive bidding process, did not allow that it can get into the everyday use. However, now they got another code which is beneficial, and it is possible that it is going to be available soon. Yes. So, thank you very much again, and please come.